Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome to this live reading session with myself. I hope that the new year is treating you well. Happy New Year, everybody. It is officially 2025. And yeah, we're here today because we're going to explore your chart and the ways in which to do that. The instructions are in the description box. Yes, the link is below. And then once the payment is submitted, of course, just make sure you provide your birth information. And then I will uh, produce a live reading here now. And if you need to do something, if you need to just get on with your day, other tasks, the reading will be available. Now, we do have one person who has booked, and Raina, if you're in the audience right now, I still need your time of birth. Or sorry. Oh no, I've got that. Sorry, I was gonna say place of birth, but I do actually have that. That's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna load yours now. Your reading, Raina. Do excuse me. I didn't have the best start to the beginning of the year, to be honest. Wasn't very well. Still kind of coming out of it, but hey ho, we carry on. Let's see if I got your information all correctly. Yes, and Raina, happy New Year to you as well. I'm just being quiet because I am trying to concentrate, making sure that all of the information is correct. There we go. Okay, so yes, Raina, hi, welcome. I'm glad to see you here. Glad to have you here. And for others joining, hello to DI. Happy New Year to you as well. We'll see. We'll see who else books, but we're going to focus on you, Raina. So I'm just going to present your chart and the amount of readings I take today. I'd say five. Five would be the maximum. So, image. And there we go. And I'm just taking a moment to read your question again, okay? Saturn, just having some water. All right, so first and foremost, Raina, I want to answer your question just about the rising sign. So I'll answer it at the beginning because it's sort of like addressing it not just to you, but to everybody. So you asked, do you feel the rising sign is what we are rising to become in this life? And the sun sign is our soul and ego. All right. Of course, there are going to be mixed opinions about this. It really depends on the astrologer. But I would follow, my understanding about this is that the rising sign is tied to our life path, but it's the sun that we're striving to become in this life. So we start from the rising. Imagine it as you being born, your rising sign in the first house. It really is about your earliest upbringing, essentially. You literally being birthed. And then what we do is we strive to become more like our sun sign. And so, in this regard, yes, we could argue that the sun sign is sort of like our ego, our individuality. It's really about how we individuate. And we could also partly suggest then from this that the sun is linked to the soul. And I have heard other astrologers um, talk about the sun in this way, sort of like connecting with our soul's mission, our soul's purpose in many regards. So that's what I'm going to say about that. So let me then load this, and I hope that was quite clear for you. Um, and I do just want to mention that where I found that information from, 2 seconds. Um, this book here, The 12 Houses, Howard Saspertas. I'm sorry, I don't know. Sometimes I think I mispronounce his surname, and then Liz Green. Just obviously, Liz Green, an absolute legendary astrologer. Yeah, this book is just if there's one astrology book I would recommend, it's this one. I can't even explain how grateful I am to these astrologers. So yeah, that would be where I learned that from. Okay, so let's now get into your actual questions about you, Raina. And what we can maybe think about this as is oh, am I cutting? Am I pausing? I hope I'm not. I hope I'm not. Okay. So let's then think about this, because if we are to say that the rising sign is tied to our life path, and then the sun sign is tied in with the person we're striving to become, well, whenever we explore this, and I just want to mention quickly before we go any further, Raina, I may have to just pause for a second in the middle because other people are booking and I don't want to overbook. I want to try and keep it at that 5 reading mark this evening. And I will be back on tomorrow night for anybody else who maybe misses out tonight. So I just wanted to make that clear, okay? But yes, so I do apologize, Raina, for if I'm being a bit scattered or whatever. I really want to try and just focus on you, of course. So if we were to follow that outline, when we look to your chart, right? So Gemini is on the rising. So what we see here is that with your earliest years, your earliest development, it was very much about being adaptable, and sudden changes could have very well happened. Being born into a very unexpected situation, for example. And I'm saying this because the ascendant is also within that Uranus decan in Gemini. But we also see this as, you growing up in an environment where it was very engaging, chatty, just a lot going on. And maybe in many ways, you identify with being quite versatile, adaptable, being quite a curious individual. Even Mars is in Gemini as well. And so we can look at this as your goals and your passions in this life really being tied in with your intellectual desires and interests. So, when we then further explore this, we notice that the sun is in Aquarius. So, the person that you're sort of striving to become in this life, if you will, is someone who actually, you know what, you stay true to what your beliefs are, right? Aquarius is an air sign that really stands by its convictions and its mental rules, if you will. So, this is very much about having a mind of your own. This is about standing up for what you believe in and doing your research to back that up. Aquarius is very intellectual, yes, but it's very much a scientific sign, and really wants to understand why things are the way they are. And so we could see this, especially with the sun being in the ninth, we could see this as you taking your studies to the next level. We could see this as you maybe expanding your horizons by traveling, or by maybe connecting with like minds, or by connecting with in a social media space and just finding people who they challenge you, you learn from them, you grow together. So yeah, we could really look at you striving to become this very well informed individual, but there's a quirkiness, there's a uniqueness, there's something about you that stands out. Okay, that stands out. And to further even add to this, Mars is the driving force that kind of pushes the sun to be successful. So that's great because Mars for you is in Gemini. And so we go back to Gemini, and actually, it's your ability to, be a bit more light and be a bit more curious and sort of interested about this, that, and the other, dabbling into different areas. It's these kinds of things that can really help you and support you to maybe step into this place of, do you know what? Yeah, I'm well informed. What I'm getting from this is to embrace this part of you, right, with Gemini, to embrace the Gemini part of you that is able to get into many different sources and areas and gather information. Gemini is very much this gatherer of information, and then to even articulate yourself really, really well as you do that, uh, to be malleable, to be open. But it's all of that stuff that can support you. Even look at this trine energy between Aquarius and Gemini, but that stuff can support you when it comes to even more highly like academic things that are maybe a bit more complex and a bit more difficult. I think about even working with computers or technology. I think about certain philosophies or even, abstract concepts and ideas, things like that. That, may be a bit more challenging to grasp and to really lay out. But here's the thing. Let's bring in Saturn, right? You want to know about Saturn. Saturn is so much about karma, yes. But Saturn, you see, is really about the long haul. It's about planning, it's about being disciplined. So Saturn is with Mercury. And what this can indicate is that you are learning in this life how to discipline your mind. Even Mercury in Aquarius as a singular placement can be very analytical, sharp, you know, um, can really focus in on things and concentrate to an extent. But Saturn is a whole other, it's a whole other uh, component to consider because Saturn is really about structure. And if there's anything maybe about the foundation, anything about what you're building when it comes to maybe um, an interest of yours, a subject, knowledge, if anything is off, if anything maybe needs to be re-examined and looked at, that Saturn influence says, okay, well, get to work. You can do this. Now, the other thing to mention, we want to explore this a little bit more, don't we? Because Saturn can be heavy. Saturn can feel burdensome. Saturn can be a part of the chart where it's like, oh my gosh, I have to, put in the work. I have to start from the ground up, and I have to start as a student from this level. And that can be intimidating. It really can, especially to the mind, because it's like, this is hard, but there's the resilience here. There's the determination here. And when we also further, in a way, mix the sun in with the sextile to the moon in Sagittarius, what we see here is that you're also going to be willing and open and able enough to expand yourself. The way I see this is that you're always open to learning from maybe something you didn't get correct the first time around, or if it is that you have to start from the grind up again, you're like, right, okay. But then again, maybe there is a part of this where with the moon in Sagittarius, yes, it can be adaptable and willing to face certain challenges. The moon in Sagittarius can also have the tendency of kind of seeking to be free, to roam free, to say, hey, you know what? No, I want to go off on my other adventures. So maybe there is some form of working with Saturn in a way where there's patience, where there is greater consistency, reliability, even the square between Venus and the moon, especially within these houses that are tied to, we think about in the 10th house, it's about our career. we think about the seventh house, it can be about business deals, contracts, agreements, things like that, business partnerships. So there can be maybe that inconsistency or that sort of scattered feeling or that restlessness. Maybe you're feeling this right now, what I'm saying, because Jupiter is currently in Gemini. Sorry. So, um, it's still a bit of it, you're at a challenging point, I guess. I think you're at this challenging point in your life when it comes to what is the next step for me. But what I'm going to say is remember, Jupiter's going to continue on, and Jupiter will eventually turn direct in February, and then come June, we'll enter Cancer. And the beautiful thing about that is coming into the summertime of 2025, there will be those trines to the midheaven and Venus for you. So I think we could see some beautiful developments unfold for you, especially when it comes to your possessions, your finances, and your career. And sorry, the last thing here, okay, Aries and Taurus. Let me see. Yes, so Aries and the 11th. The 11th then is so much about our future hopes and dreams. So thinking about our dreams and hopes and how we may strive to kind of make those things a reality a little bit. But the interesting thing about this, I suppose, is there is a square, sort of like this square between the 11th and second houses, and Chiron is in Cancer. So, whilst it may be that a big sort of future aim for you in this life is to stand up for yourself, be a leader, maybe start your own club, start your own group, go after certain goals of yours there within groups and organizations or companies you're a part of, there's still this, I would say, there's this emotional sensitivity. There's something that may feel a bit painful. It's sort of like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure. The self doubt can sink in. Even think about how Chiron is currently in Aries. So there is a bit of that square influence to your natal Chiron, but it's also an opportunity for you to assess, is it that there is a wound here? Is it that there's some great sensitivity tied to your self-worth or tied to your family or to the past? And get curious about that. And then also, we want to think about how Mars itself, which is the ruler of the 11th, it is in Gemini. Yeah, so I think there are big themes here to do with networking, possibly teaching, just a lot of learning, being a very active, eager learner. But it's just that at the minute, it could just be that you're going through some self-worth aches and pains, so to speak. But it is also about recognizing, that with Chiron in Aries and with the North Node being in Aries since July of 2023, you've had this opportunity to maybe explore anything that you're unsure of, any rejections, any ways that you maybe are keeping yourself back when it comes to living up to your sort of fullest potential, so to speak, within groups and clubs. And then also with Taurus in the 12th, just quickly, what I kind of look at this as is behind the scenes, you can be very earthy and grounded and sensual, and you really prefer to take your time. Even Vesta is there. So there is this importance upon, looking after your body or needing some space, needing some time away from the public eye so that you can maybe just retreat and go slower. There's just this intention, more of this intentional slowness behind the scenes. But then again, it could also be suggested here, even with Venus. So Venus would be the ruler of your 12th, right? So, hey, we could even look at this as you stepping into an occupation or a profession where it is about helping other people, right? Being quite charitable, very compassionate, helping those in need, helping the misfortunate. Yeah, so this could possibly, this path could be a source of income for you. But again, I just think with how Saturn is there right now, there seems to be some blockages. But remember, Saturn will continue to move, and that's those blockages will ease for you, Raina. Okay, thank you so much, Raina. And now we're going to move on. apologize for my coughing. Okay. Let's see. Shay, welcome back, Shay. It's gonna be your birthday soon. How exciting. I hope you're doing something nice on your birthday. And hey, Raina, it's also going to be your birthday in like a month. So happy birthday to you. We actually share the same birthday, which is kind of interesting. Okay, I need to focus. Yeah, we were born a year apart, I think. Let me see. Yeah. Okay, so this question, Shay, is related to movement. Let me have a look. I'm just gonna see if this go here. So a bit of relocation involved here. Let's have a look. You could just take me a moment. I will present your chart anyway, and then see, and then I'll have a look. And let me see who else is joining quickly. Great, Raina. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you so much. And so I can take two more people this evening, and then I'll be back tomorrow as well for anybody. Anybody else? Let's see. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Go here. Yes. No. I didn't mean to do that. Right. Can you stay there, please? Okay, that's better. All right. A lucky area. Which area? Okay. So day chart. Jupiter. Let's see. Where is Jupiter? Okay, well, so the first thing I want to bring up here. Let's see. Oh, actually, hold on. Let me just show you your chart. I have not presented that yet. Okay. And then I'm just looking at your travel map. Yes. So you have a day chart. Okay. The sun is in the 11th house for you. And of course, the other thing about this is Jupiter would be more of this beneficial, rewarding planet for you as well. And when we explore your travel map, we see here that the Jupiter descendant line runs through New York. It's also very close to Philadelphia. It also runs through Montreal. So we see more of the east side of the United States and Canada. We also notice that the Venus midheaven line runs quite closely through Boston, and it's pretty nearby to those other areas I just mentioned. And let me see what other areas a moment, and then we'll get into sort of, what this can indicate, things like that. Yeah, close to Quebec, close to Ottawa. Even I would suggest there's a close linkage to places like Richmond. Basically, just a lot of the east side of the United States. Not really, not really part Florida. I would say Florida would be out of that sphere of influence. And hey, there's also parts of South America here, parts of Colombia. There's some islands, thinking about Cuba, for example. Well, not Cuba, sorry, the Dominican Republic. So it's just to let you know that those lines run through those areas. Chile as well when we go further south. So let's focus on this for now. Let's even just try and think about the United States, those areas, because of course, you were born in the United States. Right. So with having this Jupiter descendant line running through these areas for you, yeah, sure. We could look at this as some, fortunate, more joyous experiences, if you will, within those destinations. But also, the thing about this is the moon is connected quite strongly with this Jupiter descendant line. Actually, it's very strong. So these lines, the lines are connected really strongly through New York, and I would say parts of New Jersey. So with that combination, the moon then is also about home. It's even a moon IC line. So it is really about home. It's about your living situation. So it's interesting to me that this question is about home, right? It's about relocating and things like that. And then Jupiter and the moon together could then indicate quite pleasing, harmonious, rewarding experiences within those areas, maybe feeling safe or just feeling like, you know what, yeah, I belong here. It's this feeling, the sense of belonging when it comes to the moon. But there's also with Jupiter new opportunities. Hey, we could see this as new luck and opportunities within love. And also think about it. Well, firstly, Jupiter DC line. And the descendant is about relationships, it's about others. So, yeah, we could look at this as you meeting someone new. We could look at this as you and a partner perhaps moving to that location, and then things are quite fruitful. Pleasing opportunities. There's room for growth. You can learn even a lot about the culture, the ways of life. And to also further add then, like I was trying to say a moment ago here, Shay, uh, Sorry, I forgot. I just completely, sorry. And what I was trying to say a moment ago, yes, let me come back on track. The eighth house, yes. So Jupiter resides in your eighth house. And so when we think about this Jupiter line, we want to consider the themes of the eighth house as well. We want to then think about how perhaps in a place such as New York or parts of New Jersey, maybe it's about growth and greater expansion when it comes to shared resources, shared accounts. And then such matters can also be linked strongly to your family, to your living situation. Maybe this is even an opportunity for family members to have that space for them to visit you, to stay with you. And we could also perhaps look at this as well. Saturn is also in Libra, right? So Saturn's also connected in with this. And let's think about the Saturn line. The Saturn DC line is also pretty nearby. It's not as strong as that connection between Jupiter and the moon, but with Saturn still pretty close by, Saturn does add longevity. Saturn adds realistic plans, setting, structures, times in place, commitments. And remember, Saturn is also exalted in Libra. I mean, sure, Saturn may not really be on your team. Well, Saturn is still technically on your team with the day chart. It may not be as rewarding as I suppose as Jupiter, but with it being exalted, this could suggest that there is room for real, steady growth. I mean, I look at this as you possibly meeting someone new in an area such as where these areas that I talked about, basically along these lines, and it's for the long haul. Yeah, it's for the long haul. But let's explore more to do with transits where we mix it in. And I'm just gonna come over to the comment section. Okay, so Canada, same. You feel okay. That's really interesting, isn't it, Shay? You say that you're feeling pulled to Canada. Oh, and okay. So let me see. Let me see. Yeah, those lines that I just mentioned for Canada, all very much within that area of Montreal, Ottawa, that, those areas basically within Canada. So it's just there. Yeah. Yeah, just double checking. Okay. So I wanted to also explore other areas. So we've looked at the travel map, and do you know what? Just give me a second. See here. Okay, Mars, Uranus, the Sun, Neptune. Okay. So, okay, here's the beautiful thing then. We want to explore the actual transits in connection with this because Jupiter is currently transiting your fourth house. And the fourth house is so much about home and family. So, Jupiter transiting this fourth is a big indicator of you moving. To also further add, Jupiter rules you, right? Jupiter is your chart ruler. And with Pisces, then on the rising, of course, Jupiter then is about your life path. And this then, with the fourth house activation, this could be a change in your circumstances. This could be a change to your living situation, your living environment, and how those things are also tied in with your aims and your goals, with your very identity. And also to throw into this, Jupiter is going to enter Cancer June of 2025. And what will happen throughout the summer is Jupiter will conjunct your moon. My goodness, this can be a big indicator of romantic love, relationship connections, blessings. luck, luck, expansion, growth, especially for nurturing purposes, family purposes, feeling a sense of belonging. Of course, there will be those squares to your Libra placements, so Jupiter and Saturn in Libra. And with a challenging square, it could be a case of, okay, you need to really think things over when it comes to shared accounts and shared resources, and sorting out your belongings versus another person's belongings, or maybe you're having to pay off some debt, or you're having to clear some money before that move, or before you continue on. Those kinds of challenges may just come up. And to also mention, it's a really exciting time for you, because not only will Jupiter enter your fifth come June of 2025 and connect with the moon, and so there could be this sort of these feelings of security and tenderness, and feeling nourished within your romantic relationships. So that's great. But also, we can look at this with the node. So the North Node will come into Pisces, your sign, well, your rising sign, and the South Node will come into Virgo. So there could be something here about a new chapter, right? The first house is so much about new beginnings, new chapters. You're certainly going to be starting a whole new chapter, a whole new journey, Shay, and the nodes will shift January time, so the 11th of January. So you really are in for a new era this year, so to speak. And it's so much about you, but it's also about partnerships and relationships, and maybe moving away from certain relationships, saying goodbye. It could also be just cleaning things up, or attending to some practical matters when it comes to contracts and agreements, maybe tying up some loose ends, things like that. And to further mention here that so Saturn is currently in Pisces. And it's been interesting, because with the square between Saturn and Jupiter, there have been blockages and restrictions well, for many people, for all of us in some way, I think, in some area of our lives. But for you, I think what's going to happen is, Saturn's going to steadily move away. Jupiter will also turn direct come February. And, when we really come into the astrological new year, around March, April time, things will really start to ease a little bit. And so we could see more movement when it comes to family, home, when it comes to these new chapters that you want to get them moving, And just also, I want to say before we finish off is, do remember that Mars is currently retrograde as well, coming into 2025. Mars retrograde is happening there in the fifth. It will come into Cancer on the 6th of January until the 23rd of February in your fifth house. So it's just a good opportunity for you to tie up some loose ends. Even when we think about, this could be about matters related to children, or caregiving, or caretaking. This could also be about relationship stuff, lover stuff, and with the opposition to the sun, there could be some challenge, right? There could be a challenging point, maybe challenges to do with authority, or friends, or some limits maybe tied to your individuality. And it's sort of like feeling a bit where do I go from here? What do I want? And maybe even a part of it is certain people that you are connected with. It could be friends, yes, could also be maybe people within teams or organizations or groups you're a part of. There could be some restrictions there, or just challenges, tests, so to speak. But the Mars retrograde is good in a way, because it's your opportunity to reflect, right? It's an opportunity to kind of go within and think about, okay, well, what is the next step for me? I just think coming into 2025, a lot to do with reflection and thinking about the next step, and coming more towards summertime, spring, summertime, we're really going to see interesting developments and movements for you, which could, of course, involve the whole relocating stuff. So all sounds really exciting in that regard, Shay. Thank you so much, Shay. And So, Olivia, hello, Olivia. Welcome back. Let's see. I'm just going to enter your information and then we will continue on. Okay, yes. And yes, go there. Okay, so just if I... Oh, great. Okay, hello, Olivia. Welcome to you, and thank you so much, Shay. I hope you find the information to be helpful. And if anybody else is wanting to book this evening, I have room for 2 more. But we're going to move on then with Olivia's reading. Oh, yeah. Hello, welcome. So the instructions are down below on how to book. Yes, thank you. Okay, I am just going to take a moment to read through your question. Next 5 years. Okay, all right, let's have a look. Let's have a look. Yep. And then let's see. 30. I'm just getting some timing techniques, so that's why I'm being quiet. Thank you for your patience. $12, $11, $10, $10, $9. $9, okay. No. 905. Yeah. 30, okay. 30, 32, okay. Right. I'm just going to try and take my time, break this down, and then we will arrive. Okay, Olivia. Question is related to being a freelance writer. You're very ambitious about being published, and you want this to be, well, ideally, you want this to be within the next 5 years. All right. So, the first thing that's coming through is whenever we explore your annual perfections, so whenever you turn 32, So you'll be coming 30 this year. You'll be, I think, yes, 30. Hold on. Let me double check. 1995 minus. Yes, you'll be coming 30 this year. Okay, great. And then, so in 2 years after that, then obviously you will turn 32. So what, that'll be 2027? Yeah. In 2027 until 2028, the ninth house will be activated for you. And the ninth house in astrology is about publication. And it's interesting because Mercury in your chart is in this house, and it's also retrograde. So what I want to say about this is, one, Mercury here is a big area of focus for you. It's tied to your life path. It's tied to your purpose. That would have also been something I would have said to Raina, because Raina, from what I remember, Gemini on the rising, Mercury in Aquarius. So yes, for you, Olivia, sorry, it's just my cough. I'm sorry. So for you, this is really about this desire of yours, this mission that you're on, so to speak, especially with the sun there, right? The sun is about our purpose. It's about the person we're striving to become. So this is about things like higher education, journalism, research. Uh, this is about really diving into, okay, this is what I want to learn about, and I want to learn about it through and through, especially because Mercury is retrograde. So it's almost as if for so much of your life, you've been, in this kind of training period, so to speak, and you just have this perspective that maybe a lot of people don't have. And, because with the retrograde, actually with Mercury retrograde, you can come across as very intuitive and as very sharp. And there's just a way of you being able to even reflect more on words and the meanings of words, and the way that you may even convey a message could be through literally writing it out. Okay. So we see the refinement basically of your intellectual abilities, your communication abilities. But you see, what we further notice is that the secondary progressed Mercury is direct. And so we could see some interesting developments just sort of continue on. Even we think about how by the time the ninth house activation happens, so like I was saying, by about 2027, with you coming 32, and there could be some exciting new interesting developments there to do with publications. But basically by that time, the secondary progressed Mercury will also be very close to, even closer to the midheaven itself. And remember that, like I said, Mercury is your chart ruler. And so we've got this Gemini rising. My goodness, it doesn't surprise me that freelance writing is something that you're deeply interested in. And I also want to mention another thing, which could maybe connect in a little bit with public publishing, because with you turning 30 this year, the seventh house will be activated. And what do we see here? Oh, we see a Jupiter in Sagittarius, we see Venus in Sagittarius. What does this mean? This could be expansion and luck when it comes to partnerships, deals, agreements. Think of it along the lines of, okay, maybe there is, let me just read. I want to make sure I'm using the correct language. Maybe there is a publisher that you align with this year, right? Maybe there is some interesting conversations to be had about publishing, or maybe it's about learning for yourself of how to make that happen, doing the research, looking things over. Could also involve, finding someone who maybe wants to act as that person for you, or can help you, assist you with publishing in some way, because Venus is there. So it involves relationships and partnerships. And with Jupiter there too, this is really about taking your own writing, okay, taking your own writing to the next level. This could be about expanding upon your knowledge, expanding upon your research, possibly, Olivia, for your market research, right? To maybe think about, okay, well, what's my target audience when it comes to my writing, or how do I want to reach people? What's my message? Really taking the time to reflect upon what your wider message is. And here's the other thing, and it's just coming through now. Mercury has, well, Mercury was retrograde in Sagittarius towards the end of 2024, so December, and Mercury in Sagittarius was in your seventh. So that was really, I think, an opportunity, Olivia, for you to explore your roadmap, for you to explore your why, right? It's like, well, why am I doing this? And what do I want from this? And what is my mission? And it's clear that you have thought about this very deeply, because I mean, a you have a plan, right? You're saying in the next 5 years, that's what you want. You want things to be aligned. Next 5 years, let's do it. So that was great. That time period was really good for you to explore those things. But we want to maybe explore this a little bit more, because, and this is a similar theme, I suppose, that I brought up for others. But there is that Saturn Jupiter square happening. And remember, Jupiter rules your seventh. Jupiter is the dispositor of all of your Sagittarius energy. So with Jupiter making the square to Saturn, there does seem to be this blockage, these limitations happening for people. And so this stuff could be tied in with your purpose, with your career, with your greater aspirations here. But what you may notice is that, so Jupiter is going to turn direct February 2025. So 4th of February, from what I remember. And it will start to move more and more and more. And it'll ease, this tension, these blockages, the restrictions will start to ease. And you may actually come out of the Jupiter in Gemini transit. And this will be around June time of 2025. You may come out of that transit thinking to yourself, do you know what? I'm actually really glad that I was able to sit and do my research and just practice my skills. It's been amazing in this way, I think, for you to refine your skills, to improve, to do your research, to look at, okay, well, and what are my options? Exploring your options and actually being able to, hopefully, because it's challenging to do with the transits the way they are, but hopefully being able to narrow things down, and to refine things in such a way where it's like, right, okay, I know what I'm doing. And the other thing then to further mention is the fairy. So, like I said, Aquarius there is in the ninth, right? And the ninth rules publishing. And I just, with the sun there especially, and your chart ruler together, I really do see this as a big part of your purpose. Your focus in this life is about writing and publishing. So it does seem like, to answer your question, you're aligned. You're very much aligned in this way, right? But Saturn itself rules your ninth. Saturn is in Pisces. And this is about the fantasy world. This is about being known as this person who can dive deeper, who can really connect with human emotion. Moon is even there in Pisces in the 10th. So Olivia, it's very exciting, I think, the way the planets are kind of lining up here, because I think a big part of what your professional life, what you're going to be known for, your achievements, your accomplishments, it is being known as this person who can move people through emotion. It's playing around in the fantasy world. It's getting people to dream. It's getting them to imagine. It's also, I think, there's also an element of maybe provoking thought from within others to get them to think about their own humanity, right? With Aquarius, a lot of this is about humanity and really wanting to get people to think differently. And you find your niche, basically, right? You have found your niche. And then you're experiencing your Saturn return. Honestly, with experiencing a Saturn return, it's going to bring up these limits and these hardships and these obstacles. But it's also about, okay, you can do this. Step up to the challenge. It's a good time to refine your skills, to improve upon what you're doing there, what your intentions are for the long term. And maybe a part of it is slightly about, okay, you know what, let go. I can't control that. I need to surrender to that. And what's going to happen is this is just incredible because Saturn in 2025 is going to come out of your 10th and the North Node will come into your 10th, right? And that's going to happen more January time. And it's going to actually connect with your moon. So there's something quite beautiful here about seeing growth, seeing significant growth when it comes to this trajectory that you're on and seeing the rewards, feeling blessed, feeling somewhat, you know what? Yeah, I'm so happy that I committed myself. Now, what I will also say a little bit here, just before we close off, is remember that Saturn will come back into your 10th. So you're going to get, I think, 2025 is sort of like a year for you to get a sense for, okay, right, when it comes to my career path, my wider message, when it comes to the things I've been working on, okay, I've learned this, this, and this. Because the Saturn is going to come back into your 10th, and that's going to be, from what I remember, Saturn is going to come back into the 10th. September time. Yeah. September time, that retrograde will come back into Pisces. So, beginning of the year, you could see some interesting developments and greater opportunities happen, maybe getting used to different hey, we can look at it as Saturn does rule your 8th house as well, so we can maybe look at it as maybe get a sense for interesting stakeholders or investors or people that you want to work with. Again, we want to relate that a little bit to that of the whole publishing stuff. So maybe a part of it is about, okay, let me talk business with these people, right? But then come more towards the other half of 2025, it's just a good time to look things over, to sit with the information and to go over the plan basically. And by 2026, I think 2026 especially and beyond, I think we could see some really exciting opportunities. And you're also implementing the lessons of your Saturn return as time goes on too. Greater maturity, of course, coming up and being hopefully then recognized with Saturn there. And there's success with Saturn. Wherever Saturn is, there is success. And by the sounds of it, you're going to be a very successful writer. And hey, perhaps you already are, Olivia. Okay. Thank you so much, Olivia. Oh, hold on. Yes, 30 in a month. Okay, so I got got your age and everything correct. That's okay. Okay, great. So I have room for one more. And Robin, hello to you. Thank you so much. And I'm just gonna enter your information, and I will just take a minute, obviously, to read your question. Claudia, thank you for being here. Welcome. The instructions are down below on how to book. And thank you so much to you, Olivia. I wish you all the best. It's so exciting. It is. Yay. Okay, great. So, and happy birthday to you as well, Olivia. I know next month, but still. Let's say yes. B. Let's see. All right. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you, Robin. And I'm just going to present your chart. Okay. And I'm just going to take some time to read through your question. I'll just read it to myself. Okay. I'm editing the title because Claudia, thank you so much for booking. I am just going to edit the title so that I can say that we're fully booked for this evening. And then I'll be back on tomorrow. But yes, Robin and then Claudia, and I'll be back on tomorrow. If I can just edit this. Thank you so much to everyone who has booked this evening. Okay. Okay, great. Right, back to your question. Thank you, Claudia. And continuing on then with your chart, Robin. So, you, in a nutshell, you want to know about relationships. Big focus on relationships here. Well, what I will say to begin is that there have been many releases happening for you. I mean, heavy, intense, hard releases. And I'm saying this because the South Node has been transiting your first house, your first house of identity since July of 2023. So this indeed has been this 18-month period of facing the harsh truths, the hard truths. I think especially at the beginning of the transit. So I would say more around autumn time, 2024, 2023, and coming into 2024, there was a heaviness. There was a lot deeper, many deeper things coming up to the surface for you to address and for you to shift. Perhaps a lot of unconscious drives and motivations came up, fears as well. Just a lot of letting go, and having to be brave in many respects, right? Having to be more focused on your independence and showing up for yourself in many ways within your relationships, considering what you want when it comes to partnerships. And the reason why I'm saying this is because as the South Node was in your first, the North Node was in your seventh. So, yes, we have seen then major changes, significant new chapters, significant endings and new beginnings tied to your sense of self and your direction, but also thinking about how you show up within your relationships. Maybe even a big part of this was having to face, okay, how can I integrate my own shadow? And maybe a part of your shadow is tied to standing up for yourself, asserting yourself, right? So much about your own will and defending what you want. And at the same time, I want to remember here that Chiron has also been transiting your seventh since about 2011. And the thing about this is that Chiron, especially if I hold on, let me just get my transits to check. Just give me a second. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Chiron, especially now, is quite a triggering point for you because there's the opposition to Pluto. So, what I mean by this triggering point is that there's this right now, and it's something that has been a part of your story for many months, but there's something here about you rising up, about you going through this phoenix rising experience, this transformative experience. And we also notice that, well, this relationship stuff that you bring up, things are going to ease for you, I think. And new chapters are coming. They're coming because the North Node is at its final degree in Aries, right? It's at 0 degrees today, and it's going to enter Pisces on the 11th of January. And so, what we see here is that there's a kind of it's more of a combination of things. It's more of a reflective time. It's a time to look back and kind of go, whoa, this has been the trajectory I've been on since July of 2023. These are the ways that I have really had to stand up for myself with respect to relationships. And I have been able to really think about, what do I want? So the North Node now at 0 degrees is quite a energetic degree. It's quite dynamic. It's quite powerful. So there could be some powerful developments and things that you want to let go of and change as you step into this next life chapter. Because the other thing is, the North Node is connecting with Pluto. And this was very strongly felt over the past few weeks. But the North Node is now making a sextile to Pluto in your fifth. So we are seeing interesting renewals, deaths, and rebirths, so to speak, when it comes to your romantic relationships, your love life. I even think with Venus transiting your fifth house there, so that would have been throughout December time. Venus was transiting your fifth house. So I think that was a good opportunity for you to maybe think outside of the box a little bit, for you to maybe consider, okay, well, what do I value when it comes to love and relationships? Maybe there is a part of it where you embrace more mentally stimulating relationships, or there is something that's quite unorthodox about them or unconventional about them. But still, that was an opportunity, I think, for you to think over, what is it that you value? What is it that you prioritize when it comes to love? And then Venus as well is your chart ruler. Okay. So Venus now is in Pisces, and Well, this part of the transit, so over the next few weeks, it's really an opportunity for you to more so reflect upon, okay, more of the gentle, caring, sympathetic qualities within love and relationships. And especially thinking about your own health, your own well being with Venus transiting your sixth house. Maybe there is an element of giving yourself some rest, giving yourself a break, so to speak. Honestly, I think it's interesting because throughout December, there were the trines happening to all of your Libra planets. And I actually think that what that could have brought up is just a lot of intensities. This all consuming influence, just oh, just yeah, heavy stuff, I think. So coming more so into the new year and into January and February, hopefully this can invite more of a soothing, calming energy for you. But at the same time, we also notice that the transit Saturn is opposing Venus in the 12th house for you. So your actual chart ruler Venus is in Virgo in the 12th. And so there's something hidden about relationships. I'm thinking about secrecy, I'm thinking about deception. Uh, Sometimes what's said, about Venus in the 12th is that like cheating and infidelity can happen, things like that. And so I kind of wonder how many of those things have happened throughout your life. And is it that with Saturn opposing Venus right now, there's some trigger, or there's some blockages, or there's some sadness or some pain that's coming up for you? I'm just curious about that a little bit. But maybe at the same time, this is where it is important for you to be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself. Wow. I mean, the thing about this is the South Node is going to come into your 12th and the North Node is going to come into your 6th January 11th for the next 18 months. And then there's going to be eclipses. And even remember, Venus is in your 12th. So we are going to see new chapters happening within your relationships. We're going to see this. But I think at the same time, what's important to recognize for you is, my goodness, like I'm trying to say here, give yourself a break, right? There's this, I would say there's such a fixation, there's such a focus, there's a lot of worry maybe coming up. This is what I'm picking up on. So how can you maybe come at things from a place of nourishment, compassion, kindness? And to further mention, whenever we explore Mars, so Mars is the ruler of your seventh. Mars is currently, so basically Mars is going to tell us something about your relationships, right? So Mars is currently retrograde in Leo, and with that opposition to Pluto, oh my goodness, I wonder over the past few days, even today, uh, what kind of intense emotions have come up to the surface for you? What frustrations? Yeah, maybe a lot of releasing has happened for you. Maybe in this way it's important not to kind of implode, or to how do I say, not to take things out on yourself, or to get caught up in self-worth issues and upheavals and things like that, because Scorpio of course does rule your second. But yeah, and then the thing is that Mars retrograde will come back into Cancer on the 6th of January until the 23rd of February. So this part of the retrograde, I think it's more about, okay, try your best to sort of focus more on your emotional needs, your emotional security, reflect upon what, maybe use the retrograde as an opportunity to consider what you need from relationships. And what is it about the safety and security that you desire within relationships? Mars itself is actually in Cancer in your chart, so there is this there's more of this assertiveness and this motivation and drive tied to emotional security. um so I think it's just an opportunity for you to go over that, to kind of think about, well, what are my desires here? What do I really want in this way? Furthermore, let's just talk about more developments within our relationships for you. Well, Saturn may, so firstly, at the end of March, actually, Neptune is going to come into your seventh, and By May time, Saturn will come into your seventh. So what's going to happen for you is 2025 is going to usher in a taster, right? Just there's a short period, a short window through 2025, a taster of new beginnings to do with relationships. And I think it's about being able to hold space for both. Okay, this more idealistic way of showing up within them and maybe being quite dreamy and romantic and thinking about blissful connections or maybe aligning with your soulmate, so to speak, finding someone who you feel spiritually connected with. But Saturn equally adds some level of realism and practicality and trying not to get too carried away. And if it is that you're maybe not seeing things very clearly, it's like, how can you bring it down, bring it back down to reality? And we're going to notice this even as Saturn over the next couple of months really does connect with Neptune. And so this is the last thing I'm going to say for you. A lot of relationship stuff here, obviously happening for you. But the last thing I'm going to say is there is going to be a Venus retrograde from the 1st of March until the 12th of April. And it's going to involve partly this Neptune influence, maybe a little bit of the Saturn, you could argue. But yeah. So what is this all about for you? A big opportunity for you to review, for you to think about, okay, what is it that I want here for the long term? How can I be honest with myself? How can I be serious with myself about romance and love and desire and connection? Though what I will also mention about this a little bit, and I think the reason for why I want to say this is because there will be of that opposition to Saturn for a short window for you. But with Venus retrogrades, yes, there is the whole stereotype thing of people from the past coming back, right? And yeah, sure, that can happen. And I think especially for you, it's like, okay, if it is that there's someone who maybe wants to reconnect with you, it's maybe about being able to hold fire a little bit, to remember even the inner work you've done, especially if it is, I'm just going to put this out there, if it is that this individual or this person has maybe hurt you or betrayed you, or there's been some issues in the past, and you've been doing a lot of sort of inner work, you've worked on yourself, especially with the nodal journey that we just kind of mentioned there, the releases and things like that. How can you remember the work that you've already done, and how can you be sensible and somewhat mature in terms of letting somebody back in? Now, I want to be balanced in this. I want to be balanced as I say this. It could also be a case of, sure, there is actually someone that you would like to reconnect with, and everything adds up, right? Adds up. They're mature. Maybe they've taken responsibility. They've cleaned themselves up, and it's like, okay, tick, 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 tick. Okay, great, great. But whatever the case may be, we're really seeing here. We are really seeing here for you, Robin, that there's interesting developments that are going to happen, especially within these relationship sectors of your life over the next coming months. Wow. Okay. Okay. You keep them a secret. You keep relationships a secret. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. We can see that with that Venus in the 12th there, then, as a manifestation of that. Well, Robin, I really hope that you benefited from your reading. I thank you so, so much. And now, lastly, we're going to get to Claudia. Thank you so much. And like I said, everyone, I'll be back on tomorrow. I think, Claudia, I think I recognize you. I think what you did book before. Okay. um, okay. Oh, that's why. Okay. Yep. Okay, great. Yes. Question. Main themes. Ooh, I like this question. Okay, let's see. Oh, great. Hi, Claudia. And that's great. Thank you so much, Robin. Okay. Okay, go here, here. And transits. So just give me a moment, Claudia, and I'm going to look over your chart and I will basically walk you through it for 2025. Hi, Alexander. Happy New Year. Hope you had a nice Christmas or holiday break. Okay. Let me just look. Jupiter, Saturn. Okay. So let's break this down. You want to know about the main themes of 2025. I'm going to try my best to kind of condense it so that you're not here forever. Okay. Well, let's think about how you're starting 2025 with this, I would say, this, do you know what? I can do this attitude, because the North Node is in its final degree in Aries, and Aries, of course, is on the rising for you. So it's almost like you're at this stage of, okay, let me just integrate the leadership lessons that have come up for me, how I've grown when it comes to, furthering myself, self-development. Many identity changes, I think, have happened for you. We think about pretty monumental, big life chapters which have unfolded. Yes, all the new beginning stuff to do with Aries. And the thing about this is there will be a solar eclipse which will happen in your first house, and that will happen around March time. Uh, so that solar eclipse is just, it's another big hit, right? Where there is this new beginning influence that's quite strong and powerful. So you could see some interesting developments just continue when it comes to your direction, your sense of self, your appearance, your body, your vitality, your physical energy, I would even say here, right? Because of this Aries influence, especially, a lot of health stuff could come up. Yeah. We just see new significant chapters happening for you, but we also see things that have been left behind throughout 2024. So, for instance, it could be that what you're kind of leaving behind is that of any people pleasing tendencies or codependency tendencies, maybe agreeing whenever you actually don't mean to agree, things like that. Certain relationships that maybe you have let go of, for instance. But then equally, it could be that some interesting new relationships have been established and you're pretty excited about those. And it could be very much so that those relationships, they somehow change your very sense of self and your identity in many respects. So what we do is we arrive to the beginning of 2025 And Mars, which is your chart ruler, Mars is actually retrograde in both your fifth and fourth houses. So we're actually going to see you taking some time to maybe reestablish what your goals are, to reflect upon what your goals are when it comes to romance and love and dating and things like that. Maybe especially lately, there was a bit of a trigger for you when it comes to your individuality and your sense of self. Your individuality could have been maybe looked at from this place of, okay, what is my unconscious trying to tell me here? What is it that I'm maybe not seeing about my group involvements or how I show up within the team? And then, of course, Mars coming into the fourth house from the 6th of January until the 23rd of February, we're going to see you maybe reconsidering, okay, well, what are your priorities? What are your goals? What do you want when it comes to your family life, your home life? Could be some triggering moments, a lot of stuff to do with family, could push your buttons, get on your nerves. But, we are going to see opening up the year with an interesting emotional release tied to your career path or tied to your family situation. Okay. And then what's going to happen throughout the year is that I think you're going to move forward with these family evaluations. And you're also going to move forward with certain creative projects or hobbies of yours. Maybe there are themes, right? Because you're asking here about the main themes of 2025. Okay. Some main themes then could be about possibly children, or it could be about your creativity. It could be about romance and love and what you really want within those kinds of relationships. And we also then notice that Venus will be retrograde from the 1st of March until the 12th of April, and will happen in your first and 12th houses. Right. A lot of themes here, basically, to do with your identity and new chapters. So, thinking about, okay, new goals, new aims, shifts to do with your physical body, your physical appearance. And again, changes to physical, literal changes to your identity. But we're also going to see major themes to do with the person that you are behind the scenes, or maybe just settling into greater reflection and contemplation and taking things a bit more slow, right? Maybe it feels like over the past couple of years you've been living in the fast lane and it's just been all go, go, go with the North Node through your first. You're going to arrive to this point throughout 2025. And I'm going to say this, for a good part of the year, it is about, okay, let me just take my time. Let me just reflect upon the next step. A lot of contemplative energy here. Time to maybe even get in touch with something more spiritual. So thinking about spiritual practices, thinking even about things like meditation or yoga, breath work as well, and considering even more so how you can rest and how you can take all the time you need to decompress. And perhaps the other thing about this is things have not been the easiest for you health-wise over the past couple of years, because your Saturn return happened and you're still experiencing your Saturn return, yes, but the intensity of it would have been more around the end of 2024 or 2023 coming into 2024. I'm getting my dates all mixed up because it's the new year. But yes, I'm saying this as well because Saturn is also opposing the moon in Virgo, and the South Node will also come into your 6th house. Health. Themes, you want to know about themes? Yeah, I think big themes here for you. It's like, okay, I want to connect with the things that I enjoy, the things that make me feel good, my creativity. You've already got Mars in Leo. You've already got it there. So what you're going to experience coming into about June time, May, June time, is a Mars return. So, what will be ushered in is this whole new 2.5 year cycle to do with your creativity, to do with desires related to creativity. We could see you take on some new, exciting creative project, for example. And could even be as some new romantic relationship that starts. Mix that in with Venus retrograde, as I was talking about a moment ago. This could be ushering in a whole new relationship, a new beginning to do with a relationship, which changes your identity. So there are exciting developments in these areas, but it's also about taking care of yourself. Think about how even the North Node will trine all of your Scorpio, all of that Scorpio in the eighth house. It's a year. It is a big year for psychological discovery, learning just more about yourself, why you do the things you do. Claudia, it's an opportunity to get comfortable within your own skin. It's an opportunity to transform when it comes to relationships, significant renewals to do with even shared resources, joint financial planning. Think even about how, at the beginning of the North Node in Pisces, it will make a trine to Pluto and Jupiter. So we could see some exciting, expansive opportunities for growth when it comes to joint financial planning. So if it is, for example, that you're already in a relationship and maybe you and your partner, your significant other, you're maybe wanting to could be save for a house, or you're wanting to merge your finances in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it is a joint sort of discussion about a financial matter, but whatever it may be, we're seeing blessings, we're seeing luck, we're seeing some growth, I think, in this regard. But again, as I've been trying to say here, it's still about taking your time, having more of a slower, but just being more intentional, right? The slower moving influence. You with your Aries rising, it could feel like it's just, okay, I'm ready to jump into action. I just want it now. But the way there's so much Pisces in the skies throughout 2025, well, for a good portion of it anyway, and then with the North Node, especially for you in the 12th, it is about finding power in the pause. This is about greater serenity. And if you can, slowing it down and to regulate your nervous system as well. When we consider the moon being in Virgo, we could maybe see this as some themes to do with your health coming up, or themes to do with, okay, well, why am I worrying about that? Why am I stressing about that? And hopefully easing that tension slightly. Think even about how the South Node, more so coming into about maybe around March, April time, about that time period, will connect with Chiron more so. And so there could be some healing methods that you look at, some healing practices that you welcome in, but equally it's sort of like, okay, well, I need to ease up on this. This isn't really healthy for me. I just kind of imagine this as like a getting rid of what isn't good for you, what is not healthy for you. So a lot of things to do with health, as I'm saying. What else? We could also look at significant themes to do with, yeah, well, here's the exciting thing, and it's quite interesting because Jupiter will come into your 4th June of 2025. And I was talking about with the trine influenced all of your Scorpio, and you've got Jupiter in Scorpio, and we could see then, this as representing luck and fortune and growth to do with shared resources, joint financial planning. But then we mix this in a little bit, I suppose, with how Jupiter will start to trine Venus around June of 2025. And so then we could see some interesting new blessings and developments to do with family and home, right? Yes, this could be quite a nurturing time, a caring time. We could see some luck and hopefully healthy growth to do with your living situation where you feel a bit more on track. And what else could I say? Okay, sure, Jupiter will also make a bit of it will form a ground water trine with these other water signs. So Saturn will be a part of it. Maybe we could still see some delays or just waiting things out. It's about, okay, we got to be in this for the long haul. That's another thing. It could be, let's wait it out, let's be patient, but it could also be, this is something that we want for the long term. Well, we're gonna work with this. We got to be sure about this. So relate what I just said there to that of home and family. And we could also see with Jupiter maybe coming to the end of Gemini, so this is more before June of 2025, you actually feeling somewhat accomplished when it comes to communication, when it comes to sibling relationships. Maybe this is where we're seeing you being somewhat blessed, or where there's been greater opportunity for you when it comes to siblings, or when it comes to learning. Okay. So we could see an interesting gift, or a blessing, if you will, or you feeling pretty good, just good about yourself. Like, yeah, you know what? I'm really glad I got that opportunity to speak to that person, or I was introduced to that person this year. And we could see this as maybe more friends, or connecting with more people. We could look at this as you being quite open within your local area, just networking, interesting networks, and uh, engaging and being a bit more social with others with Jupiter in your third. And then the interesting thing is, okay, so this is going to be one of the final things I'm going to mention, but another theme is Uranus will come into Gemini July of 2025, just for a few months. So you're going to get a taster of what it's like to really innovate. Innovate when it comes to communication. So Jupiter has been in your third house since about May 2024. So that period, this window has been you, okay, right, what I want to learn about, and what about different sources, and what information am I interested in, to get really curious. Or it's like you've been introduced to so many different people, and a lot of mingling has been happening, and maybe there's excitement there, but Uranus is going to come in, and it's almost like it's going to bring this innovative this innovation, this experimentation. This could be just sudden changes, sudden surprises, to do with these relationships that you've formed over the past year or so, well, about 9 months or so. Yeah, and maybe a part of what's going to come up for you will involve travel, because the sun, okay, sure, the degrees and stuff like that won't be super potent or anything, but the sun is still in the ninth house for you in Sagittarius. Yeah, so that's interesting, because then what we could look at this as is you going on a trip, going on an adventure, you trying something new, you dabbling into a whole new subject, something that's quite out there, or original, or different. And to also think about it as Uranus is the ruler of your 11th. So there is something here about being introduced to new people. Yeah, new friendship groups, but equally, this could be about firms, institutions, organizations, larger networks, a larger social media presence, perhaps. Yeah, I just think, yeah, it's almost like you're about to enter into a really exciting, exuberant time when it comes to communities and groups. And with Pluto, of course, being in your 11th house, which is part of a much bigger story, of course, over the next 20 years. But Pluto in the 11th sort of says, it indicates that you are going to experience these deaths and rebirths within these communities and teams. So it could also be suggested losing certain friendships, separating yourself from certain groups or identities, recognizing what you don't want when it comes to your future. But then equally, it's rising up, it's being resilient, it's being introduced to new people, like minds, it's challenging authority, and really thinking about what you want then for your future, and having that conviction with Aquarius. Yeah, so overall themes for you, Claudia, I would say major themes to do with health, major themes to do with family and home, communication, learning, friendships, and also your creativity. And hey, again, it could also be related to children, whether this be you wanting to have a child or it's that you already have children and there's some changes you want to make there. Yeah, that's how I'm gonna condense that. I don't know if I did condense it very well. I hope that was enough. I hope that was enough. Thank you so much, Claudia. Okay. Yeah, I spent yeah. Okay, that was really good. Okay, awesome. So did that, yes, awesome. Even more. Awesome. Oh yeah, okay. Nice. Thank you so much, Claudia, for sharing. And yeah, thank you for your feedback. Everybody, this has been your readings for this evening. Thank you to everybody who booked this evening. Great stuff. And I hope, of course, that the information was useful to you. You got something from it. Thank you. Thank you. As always, I'll be back tomorrow. I will be back tomorrow for some more readings. With that, have a great Saturday, everybody. Bye.